Hi everyone, it's Jessica with the CC Yoga. Thank you for joining me tonight, as usual. It's wonderful to see you on these Thursday evenings. Um, Before we get started tonight, the first thing is that I am briefly going to use a tennis ball for our practice tonight. So, if you have something round handy that won't break, that's about the size of a tennis ball or a little bit smaller, now's the time to grab it. Maybe a wool dryer ball could work as well, or something cylindrical, even a peanut butter jar. So you have some options, but find something that is mostly round that you can use for your practice. If you just don't have it or you don't have time to run right now, we won't be doing it for that long. So you can just hang out for a second while we're working on that or revisit it another time after practice, since this is live and you can come back to it. So a couple of announcements, because you know I love to tell you about what's happening at a CC Yoga. There are two great events coming up that you should definitely know about. The first is a practice with Lisa on the solstice, so December 21st from 6 to 7:30. She'll be doing meditation, gentle yoga practice, guided Savasana via Zoom. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. So check it out on the Assisi Yoga website. And then do that one, and then also join Christy on New Year's Day, because she'll be giving a New Year's Day practice to welcome in the new year. And if you have worked with Christy before, and if you've been following these Thursday nights, you may have worked with her here. She's fantastic and a wonderful way to open up the new year. So check it out, Assisi Yoga. It'll be wonderful. So now we'll head on over to our mat and I'll tell you what we're up to today. So let's go ahead and get started. Find yourself a comfortable seated position. I have my tennis ball handy. I'm trying to keep it close so it doesn't decide to take off on me. We are going to be working with the feet today, happy feet yoga. So it doesn't mean that we will only be massaging and loving on the feet, though we will be doing some of that, but some of our favorite yoga poses that really work the feet as well. Opening them and closing them and stretching out the fascia and, just really working the feet, trying to keep them nice and healthy. And we have to start at the foundation. The feet have, 26 bones in each foot, so 52 bones altogether in the feet. That means about 25% of the bones in our body are just in our feet. And we have a very elaborate web of fascia in the bottoms of our feet as well. It looks a lot like it acts almost like the bottom of a trampoline. So it has kind of a webbing to it, and it expands and contracts and moves. If it's healthy, it moves really easily. If it's not so healthy, it's kind of stuck. And this is really important because that connects all the way through the superficial back line, the entire back body, the fascia through the entire back body. And so if that isn't healthy, we're going to have problems elsewhere. So it's not uncommon that people start to work with their feet and their knee problems, their hip problems, their shoulder problems start to resolve, because it turned out that the problem was in the feet all along. So that's why it's important that we do take time from time to time to focus on what's happening with our feet. So we will take a moment just to settle in before we're launching into it, because I sort of jumped right in there. So let's settle in. Find your seat. It's a good idea, especially where we're headed next, to be lifted up just a little bit. This is just an FYI, but I wouldn't usually run my bolster lengthwise like this behind me. It's just because I don't have enough space and I want to make sure that you can see me. So if you're sitting on the edge of the bolster, turn it the other direction. So the length of the bolster is forward and back instead of side to side. But you could sit on a couple blankets or a block or whatever works and is comfortable for you. Okay, that's enough information for now. So find your seat. Get yourself comfortable. And let's just take a minute, a simple minute, to transition from whatever was happening in your life before this moment to this moment, right now. So what is happening here and now? Feel the body, noticing any baggage we might be carrying into the moment. Seeing what can be let go. What isn't needed for right now that can be released. And we could start to feel simply the expansion and contraction of the belly as we breathe. And perhaps already 30 seconds, a minute down the line, just by slowing down for a moment and starting to come into the breath, things have changed. They've begun to change. Ah, thank you, yoga, before we ever even really get going. All right, so we can let the light start to come back in through the eyes. And we're going to try and get ourselves in a position where we can comfortably get to the right foot. So hopefully, we either can do that right from our cushion, or maybe you have a chair or something around where you could be seated and draw the right foot up so you have access to it. But what we're going to do is, to begin, we're just going to take the fingers and sort of begin to stretch the toes in the right foot nice and wide. Maybe massage right at the base of the toes, drawing out from the center all the way to the outsides. And after taking a moment there, and try not to think about how badly you need a pedicure or the condition at the bottom of your feet. I've been walking around barefoot all day, so I'm just noticing all of the little bits and pieces on there. We're going to take our fingers and we're going to work the fingers down between the toes. Almost like you are giving your foot a handshake. Or if you have ever gone to get a pedicure, you know, those little things, they stick between the toes. That's what we're doing. We're drawing our fingers down as far as we can get. If we can get webbing to webbing, perfect. So we're going to start to just flex, bend and flex, stretch the foot. So I'm using the hand to help a little bit. I'm pushing the foot forward and then drawing the foot back. A few times. And then we'll circle the ankle out on that side, one direction, and then the other. I have notoriously cracky ankles, so every time I do this, it's like Rice Krispies in my ankles. Good. And then we'll start to work the fingers back out again. And already that foot feels just a little more open. And then we're going to switch sides. So if we're able to get the foot up into something like the position I'm working with, we're kind of tricking the hips into getting stretched a little bit at the same time, which is lucky. So we'll take the right hand and start to slide the fingers low into the toes on the left foot. And again, we're pulling back with the fingers and then pressing the foot away, and take that several times. And then circling the ankle out one direction and then the other. And I just realized I forgot to stretch my toes out and massage the bottom of the foot on this side. It's going to be jealous of the right foot. So we may have to massage for a moment when we finish this. And then back and forth a few more times. And we'll start to work the fingers out. And then just because we didn't do it when we were supposed to, we're going to pull, stretch between the toes a little bit more here. And then maybe massage right at the base of the toes, starting at the inside with the thumbs and drawing to the outside of the foot. Release that side. We're going to bring the feet together into Baddha Konasana position. The hips are a little lifted because we're still sitting on whatever we started on. Just making sure sitting bones are drawing back. So the pelvis is tilted in that direction. And now I'm going to sit up tall. Inhale. Exhale, we're going to start to lengthen forward. And I'm going to take my thumbs to the inner arches of my feet. And I'm starting to just open the feet up a little bit more with the thumbs to begin. Gradually working my way from the bottom to the top, top to the bottom. And now we'll take the thumbs, start at the heel, and just massage up the bottoms of the feet from the heel up to the ball of the foot, and then back down again a few times. Notice how the toes want to expand as we do that. And release, and inhale, come back up again. Now is the time we're going to come up to standing and grab our round object. So I'm going to use my tennis ball, but whatever you can find. And we're just going to use the tennis ball to break up. I don't know if break up is the right term. Here we are. I have no head again. Let me see. We'll adjust. You have to see my feet too. Well, hopefully we'll get close enough. All right. So I'm going to take my foot, and I'm going to bring the tennis ball underneath the arch of the foot. And I'm going to start along the medial arch, the inner arch of the foot. And I'm just going to start to slide forward and back. And depending on your foot, it may be just a little bit uncomfortable. And we're going to roll back and forth on the center of the arch of the foot. And then the outer or the lateral arch. And then we'll take our ball, and I'm going to let my heel plant so that the tennis ball is resting underneath the ball of my foot. That's the area of the transverse arch, kind of at the lower end of the ball of the foot. And I'm just going to roll back and forth a few times. And then I'm going to squeeze the toes around the ball and then release them and spread them wide, and squeeze and release, squeeze and release. Good. And then one more time, let's roll back and forth along the medial or inner arch. the center, and lateral or outer arch of the foot. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to bring it over to the left foot now. Hopefully I don't lose my ball as I transition. And again, we'll start to roll it down. We're putting enough pressure that I don't want to say it shouldn't hurt, but enough pressure that you really feel that the fascia is being stretched and moved, mobilized underneath the foot. And then through the center of the arch of the foot. Some places are going to feel heavenly, and every now and then you're going to find a spot that's not so heavenly. All right, and then the lateral or outside. That one's the trickiest, I find. My ball wants to escape on me. All right, now let's bring it back underneath the ball, the lower part of the ball of the foot. And we're just going to set the heel on the floor and start to roll the really, we're rolling the foot, moving the foot from side to side across the tennis ball. And then we're going to squeeze the toes tight, like we're going to try and pick it up and then expand and open, squeeze and open. One more time. And open, nice and wide, good. And then let's take the arch one more time. Inner arch. So what I should have had you do first, and should you repeat this at some point, you decide to take this class again, do a forward bend before you do the work with the fascia, with the tennis ball, and then take another forward bend. And what you are likely to find is that you gain an inch or two in your forward bend when you break up the fascia, because the whole back line starts to open and release. It's pretty amazing, actually. So I hope you do try it again, if not right now. All right, so now we can send our ball out of the way. And we'll just come into Tadasana for a moment and see how the feet are feeling so far. Maybe we feel a little more sensation than usual. You can feel the texture of the mat under our feet. Notice where the weight falls. We're going to bring it just a touch more into the heels than into the front of the foot, but we can feel, we often talk about the four corners, right underneath the big toe in the ball of the foot, under the pinky toe on the outside of the ball of the foot, outer heel and inner heel. All right, from here, we're going to press the big toes into the floor. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm pressing my big toes into the floor, and I'm lifting the rest of the toes up off of the floor. Now, for some of us, we're not going to see a lot of movement. You can peek down if you need to, take a look at your toes and see whether they're moving or not. But just the action of trying to have the big toe down and the other toes lifted and spread will make a difference. And then we're going to go the other way. The rest of the toes are pressing into the floor, and the big toes are lifted. Just the big toes now. Good. And exhale. Soften. All right, so let's move a little bit more, get the body moving a bit more. So we'll come into our down dog. We're just going to start to work our way towards the floor. Bringing our hands, open the fingers wide, thumbs pointing toward each other. The space between second and third finger lining up with the wrists. We'll start to press into the hands, and my focus is going to be on lifting the tailbone up toward the ceiling. So at first, I'm keeping my knees quite bent, just to find the length in my spine. And then from here, we'll start to lengthen the legs. Try to keep that lift, tailbone up toward the ceiling. And And now I am working to try and get the tops of my feet moving toward my shin bones. So you won't see a lot of movement there, but the action of trying to draw the tops of the feet to the shin bones, you may find the heels release a little bit closer to the floor. We'll take a couple more breaths there. Good. We'll lift the balls of the feet, drop the knees down to the floor, hold the feet in that position. Start to work your way back with your hands. So the toes are tucked under. And I'm going to bring my pinky toe along for the ride. He's going to be tucked under also. So we're coming into a position that's a lot like Virasana, but with toes tucked. So it's kind of a modification on Virasana or hero pose. Now, this is another one. There are very few places in my yoga classes where I tell people that pain is okay. This is one where borderline pain is okay. We expect some discomfort in the bottoms of the feet. They are not accustomed to being stretched like this. So it's not pain, but it is intense stretch. Now, if it's too much for your body, you can start to lean the torso forward and support yourself with your fingers. So only some of the weight is back on the feet. If you can tolerate it, you're going to hang out a little bit longer. So we're really now, it's a fairly aggressive stretch on the fascia on the bottom of the feet, but an important one, really important for healthy feet. I should go back and count how many times I say feet at the end of this practice. Maybe we don't need to do it that much now. All right, so we're breathing. We're going to try and hang out just a little bit longer. When you say, I've had enough, lean your weight forward. Maybe we hold 3 more breaths. Good. And then we can start to bring the weight forward. And you're going to drop the tops of the feet to the floor and then come into Virasana. We'll take a few breaths here, letting the seat settle between the heels. Hands on the top of the thighs, back straight. Now we're stretching the ankles in the other direction. You may find you actually release a little further into Virasana than usual right now as well. And just take a few more breaths there. We won't be here too much longer. And from here, we're going to come all the way forward into child's pose. Take a few breaths in child's pose. Tops of the ankles are long. Back lengthening out, arms are engaged. Right now we're keeping our child's pose just a little more active since we don't have a lot of really active elements in our practice tonight. We'll take the action where we can. And I'm just using this moment to bring me back into right now. Reconnect with my breath. Feel my body, maybe noticing a bit of tingling in the feet and the ankles. And we're going to press fully into our hands. Bring the seat back as far toward the heels as it'll go. We start to prepare the arms for down dog, drawing shoulder blades toward the center of the spine, rolling the outer armpits up underneath. And then I'm going to tuck the toes and come back up into my down dog. Take a couple breaths here. And we'll draw forward into plank position. So trying to keep one long line from crown of the head to the soles, the heels. The shoulders are an inch or two in front of the wrists, and the heels are fully lifted and pressing back a bit. Now we're going to take Chaturanga Dadasana, elbows stay in tight, and we release down in one long line. If you can hover for a moment, take it, and then we release all the way down onto our belly. Release the tops of the feet to the floor. Inhale, come up into baby cobra. Draw the shoulders back in together. Lift the chest, lift the head. And then tuck the toes and press back into down dog. Now, from here, we want to get the right foot forward between the hands. So we're either going to lift the right leg and step it through, or you're going to drop the knees and draw the right foot through between the wrists. From here, we'll drop the back knee, and we're in a low lunge position. So that back leg is in an angle right now. And I'm going to start to draw the tip of the pelvis a little farther forward and the sternum drawing forward. So the back gets a little longer. If you need blocks under the hands here to find that length, take it. My back toe is still tucked. And then we'll start to draw the hips back so that the left hip comes directly over the knee. Right leg is going to lengthen all the way out. If you need blocks here for support, take your blocks. The toes are lifted on the right foot. Leg is long. I'm pressing into the ball of the foot like I'm pressing into a pedal. We're going to inhale and then exhale, lengthen forward over that leg. We'll come into a bit of flexion here. That's okay. Back will be a little bit rounded. You can walk the hands forward a little more. Keep the foot very active. And you can drag the right heel back towards the back knee, and that'll make the leg engage a little more. So now we're working a bit more through the superficial back line as well. Good. We'll start to bring the weight back forward into the right foot. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, step back into down dog. And we're going to switch sides. So maybe lifting the left leg and stepping it through, or dropping the knees and pulling the left foot through. And then we'll drop that back knee. And of course, if you need to grab a blanket for under the knees, that's okay. And rolling more toward the top of the back knee will help take some of the pressure off if you have knees that don't love having a lot of pressure on the kneecap. So again, we pull the pelvis forward a bit, pull the sternum forward, shoulders back. And then we're going to start to slide. The right hip is sliding back toward the right knee. Left leg long. Maybe lengthen up for a moment first. Lift the toes on the left foot. Press into the ball of the foot like you're pressing on a pedal. One more inhale, lengthen and lift. Exhale, release forward. Maybe walking hands forward a little more. And drag left heel toward the right knee. So it's probably not going to move. You're not going to notice any movement at all. But you will feel more engagement through the back of the leg. We'll take a couple more breaths here. And I am just going to swing my left leg back for a moment. Spin my body around. We're going to bring the hands to the floor. Tuck the toes, start to lift up, and take the legs wider. We're going to come into a wide leg forward fold. there's maybe 3 feet distance between the 2 feet. The feet are turned in slightly, toes are turned in slightly, heels out. So we're slightly pigeon-toed. Inhale, press into the hands, lift the chest, look forward. Holding here for a moment. Maybe we're noticing, where's the weight fall on the feet? And are my hips in line with my knees and ankles? If you notice you're really leaning back, maybe just draw the hips forward an inch or two and notice how that changes the contact of the feet on the floor. Inhale, we'll lift one more time. And exhale, let's come deeper into our forward bend. Elbows are bending back, hands are still here for support. And take a few more breaths there. And I can press my ankles a little bit away. Press the ankles out to help engage the legs a little more. Inhale, we'll start to lift the chest. Exhale, toe heel the feet in toward each other a little more. Bend the knees, support yourself with the arms, and come back into seated. So from here, we're going to come briefly through Janusarasana, a fairly simple modified version. I'm going to take my blanket and just support under the sitting bones. The left leg is going to be drawn in so that the heel is relatively close to the pelvis. If you need to take it out farther, take a little more space, that's okay. I'm going to tilt my camera back down a little bit so you can actually see what's happening with my legs. Here we go. All right, so let's try that again. Left leg drawn in, right leg extended. Now I'm going to bring my right knee in a little bit here. Turn my torso over the right leg. Start to reach and grab for the bottom of the foot. So around the ball of the foot. Now for some of us that may be as far as you go. And if even this is really asking an awful lot, then I want you to take your strap instead and take the strap around the ball of the foot in both hands. If we're here and it's feeling pretty good, we're going to start to slowly press the right heel away. The right hip is drawing back behind as the right heel is pushing forward, and the arms are supporting and holding foot here. Good. And we'll inhale, start to come up, and draw the right leg in. And then we'll take the left leg long, right foot tucking in relatively close. Again, bending that left knee a bit. Grab your strap if you need it. We're going to reach forward over the left leg, grab the ball of the foot if we can. And again, start to press left heel away. Torso stays nice and long. The chest is lifted a little bit. So we're not collapsing over the leg or going into deep flexion here. Next inhale, come all the way up again. Right. So now we're going to spin ourselves around and come into legs up the wall. So I hope you have a wall around somewhere that you can use. We're going to move straight from a little bit of active work into legs up the wall into using it for our final pose for Savasana. So finding a place where you can be comfortable. We'll take our blanket. If you want, I am going to take my blanket and I'm going to set it up close to my wall, and in my case, I'm going to have to just use the fireplace area here. And I'm going to stretch my blanket out so I have a little bit of cushioning underneath me as I lay back. So I'll give you a minute to set yourself up as well. If you know that in legs up the wall, you need a little extra support underneath your sacrum to lift the sacrum just a little bit to support the low back, feel free to take something small there. So to come into legs up the wall, we slide in relatively close to the wall. And for this version, I really want your glutes almost touching the wall, especially for the beginning part. So we slide in close, one hip close to the wall, support ourselves with our arms, and then we start to swing the legs up as we're still supporting with the arms. Now from here, once we get the legs up, we're going to stretch the arms back in the other direction. We're going to press heels up toward the ceiling and draw the toes in toward the forehead. And we're going to start to curl up from the wrists. The hands are going to curl up a bit. And the fingers are going to curl in slightly. But it's like we're holding something fairly large between the hands, like a grapefruit, so that we don't ball the hands into fists. And as we do that, we feel this beautiful lengthening through the low back. We're going to lengthen the hands back out again, maybe relax the legs for a moment. Press heels up toward the ceiling, draw the toes toward the forehead. Notice the low back, bring awareness of the sensation to the low back. And then start to curl up the wrists, the fingers curl in slightly. Ooh, I just got a little bit longer. I hope you're finding that too. And exhale, release. We're going to do that 2 more times. Press the heels up. Draw the toes down toward the forehead, bending up from the wrists, the fingers curl in slightly. Exhale, release. And last one. Press the heels up, toes draw in, curling up from the wrists. And exhale, release. Good. So that is the end of our hard work for tonight. Now we're going to just start to settle ourselves in for Savasana. So to be comfortable, you need to slide yourself back just a little more away from the wall. Feel free to take that. Shimmy around a little if you need to. Make sure that the shoulders feel even, that you're even across the chest from side to side. Decide on the placement of your arms. For some of us, it's going to feel really nice to have the arms back behind us, palms facing out and elbows up to the sides. That'll just lengthen us out a little bit more. Some of you may prefer hands resting on the abdomen or even out slightly from the hips with the palms turned up like we would use in corpse pose. So find the place that feels right for you tonight. We no longer have to actively work the legs in this position. We're letting them relax and release. Back is starting to sink in toward the floor. We're allowing some of the extra fluid buildup from the day. If we've been on our feet a lot today, letting that extra fluid drain out of the legs. You can already feel the breath is starting to slow. Heart rate. nervous system settling. There's a sense of things getting a little quieter. Very much coming back, residing in this moment. Maybe here again with the expansion and contraction of the belly. We'll take a few more breaths. And we'll start to work the feet a little lower down the wall. Knees are bent closer to 90 degrees. Give the back a moment to adjust. We're going to come into a brief twist before we end our practice. So maybe you'll need to shimmy a little bit away from the wall just to give yourself enough room there. Arms can come out to the sides, palms facing up. We'll draw the knees in the rest of the way toward the chest and then just let the knees drop over to the right side. Really simple. Enjoying that sense of lengthening in the back. We'll inhale back to center. Exhale, let the knees drop over to the other side. We'll roll the whole body over to join the knees. Rest there for a moment in the fetal position with the head resting on the right arm or on the left arm, just depending which side you've rolled onto. And then we're going to start to roll the chest closer to the floor, press into the hands, and lift ourselves all the way back up to seated again. And before we end our practice, we take a few breaths just to let ourselves experience the effects. May we still feel bit more sensation in the feet, a bit more settled than when we began. We'll bring the hands up to heart center with the thumbs resting on the chest. Let the chin release. Thank you for joining me tonight. Be well. Namaste. All right, my friends, until we meet again, same time, same place next week. I hope you'll join me then, and we'll see you soon. Take care.